Hi, my name is Ruben and this is my review for Netflix's original film Outlaw King. Outlaw King is hailed as the untold true story with creative license of Robert the Bruce. It's a true story of his transformation from defeated nobleman to outlaw hero during the oppressive occupation of medieval Scotland by Edward I of England. Despite his circumstances continuing to get worse, Robert the Bruce seizes the Scottish crown and rallies a passionate group of men to fight back against the tyrannical king and his army. Outlaw King was filmed in Scotland and reunites Chris Pine and David Mackenzie. Chris Pine was one of the main protagonists in High Water, which David Mackenzie directed, and now Mr. Mackenzie has directed Outlaw King, which stars Chris Pine as Robert the Bruce.
I serve Robert Bruce! Join us to free others!
Firstly, I should say I don't know much of the history. I grew up in South Africa, so as you can imagine, my taught history was vastly different to that of the UK's. All I know about that time is what films have shown us, films like Braveheart, and that apparently is inaccurate to the events that occurred, although I still really enjoyed the film. And that's just it. I'm reviewing Outlaw King as a movie, as a piece of cinema, and not how accurate it is. Although, according to the director, who has been very outspoken about the fact that Braveheart did a great disservice to Robert the Bruce, well, that character in his film, and that he considers that what he has done is a much better representation. The film opens with a very impressive Steadicam shot. That must have taken weeks to execute. It runs from a sword fight and then follows along to a battle meeting, then to a siege. I did think it rang a little long, but that's just my opinion. The opening shot with this Steadicam shot kind of sets the tone for the film. The long Steadicam shot, it does its best to put you, the viewer, into the action, into the conversation, and I think it accomplishes it for the most part. The film centers around two opposing sides and settles on relationships on both sides. You get to see the battle plans of both sides and see how they're going to execute them. Along the way, there is enough action to keep the movie going, to get you to that ever final battle scene that you know is coming. The action is filmed well, although it never really gets as creative as that first amazing Steadicam shot. The action is messy and brutal as you'd expect, but I think Outlaw King works well best in the little moments between Chris Pine and those he interacts with. Chris Pine as the protagonist was a good choice in my opinion. There is a real tangible air of believability with his character. You can't help but like him. The relationship he forms are real and really emotionally engaging. The bonds he forms with his men make you feel for them when they're engaged in battle. You care about what happens to them. The film could easily have been a skop, skit and donner film. That's an old Afrikaans saying which basically translates as to one of those Hollywood action films. It translates directly as kick, shoot and kill film. Big action scenes, anti-hero to hero, everybody lives happily ever after, mostly the good guy wins sort of film. But Outlaw doesn't do that. The action sequences are big and it's definitely the biggest production that Netflix has put out. But the film takes its time with the characters, developing them into the people you care about or hate, which is really essential. For you to care about the heroes, you have to really dislike the bad guys. And for that, you have to put time into the bad guys. And I think that's something that Outlaw King does well. Outlaw King was shown at a film festival a few weeks back, and the reaction from the audience made the director cut 20 minutes from his movie. So the version on Netflix and at select cinemas is very different to the one originally intended for our viewing. Director David Mackenzie said it was a very painful task and it's one of the hardest things that he's ever had to do, which is unfortunate because it does feel like in places that the pacing is off with the version that we see now. It does feel like there are bits missing from the story. There are places in the movie where something has happened with the character or in parts of the story and you just have to accept that. Although that being said, it was so bad that 20 minutes had to be cut from the film, and 20 minutes is not a short amount to cut out of a movie. That's quite a large chunk of a film. I personally would really like to see the 137-minute version. Now this is a Netflix film, and the worry that some have had about this film is in fact that some of Netflix films have not been so great, and for an epic of this nature you really need to see it at the cinema, and to some extent I agree with that, which is why Netflix has released this film in select cinemas. Very select. I have mixed feelings about this. I think that we're at a place now where streaming is really massive, so I get why a director would want to partner with a streaming service like Netflix. Outlaw King will be streaming in 137 countries from release, but I can't help but feel that this film deserved a bigger cinema release. I remember watching Braveheart at the cinema and thought that was really epic. Massive screen for a massive film. And I do feel like you lose something of the grand nature of the epic like this. You kind of need to see it at the cinema to get that kind of feeling that the director was going for. We have a fairly decent TV, but I still felt like I wanted to see it at the cinema. Maybe that's just because of the air and stigma that goes along with a streaming service. Some people say that it's of lower quality because it's streamed on a streaming service. It's TV movie-esque, and I think that's a load of doo-doo. I've even heard loads of people comment on whenever they see the Netflix logo appear, it's not a stamp of quality, but a, oh dear, what we're about to see. I kind of get that with some of their films, but for me I'd have to say when I see that logo I get excited because I wonder if it's going to be something unique like Beast of No Nation, for example. Outlaw King is an emotional adventure. At a couple of points both my wife and I were close to tears and sat with lumps in our throats as we tried to put our brave faces on. In my book, if a film can do that, then it's done a good job. So aside from the fact that it's a Netflix movie and has had a big edit, I'd say take a chance in the film, watch it. The action is well executed into a character-driven narrative that will have you emotionally engaged to the end. I'm going to give Outlaw King a B. Thank you for watching this review. If you liked it and have thoughts of your own about it and would like to chat to me in the comments below, then I will be there. Hopefully I will reply to every comment. Please like and subscribe if you want more reviews like this, and remember, live long and Tuesday.